What's up, agency owners? I'm excited to have another amazing guest on the masterclass. We're going to talk about the 5-step launch system that you can follow for yourself or for your clients. And we're going to talk about how Will's actually grown and scaled his agency while staying lean and having a lifestyle that he's always wanted, where you have that freedom to pick and choose to do the things that you love doing rather than being forced to do everything. So let's go ahead and get into the episode. Hey, Will, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jason. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. Tell us who you are and what do you do?
Absolutely. My name's Will Russell. I'm the founder of a launch marketing agency, Russell Marketing. We specialize in product launches, idea launches, such as crowdfunding, Amazon, e-commerce, and so on. Essentially, we have a 5-step system that we bring to our clients and help them successfully launch their big ideas.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and, before we kind of jump into it, how did you start the agency and why?
I used to About 6 years ago, I was working at an organization and the organization relocated. And that would have meant kind of a 90-minute commute either way for me. And that was not what I wanted to be doing. I created this business and always wanted to have a lifestyle, a life outside of work. And so 3 hours every day commuting wasn't my cup of tea. And so I decided if there was ever a time to pursue something myself, then that was it. And I went ahead, just kicked it off with some freelancing work, saw if the business was viable, if I could start bringing in clients like that, and I was able to, and we successfully just continued taking steps since then, really.
Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump into kind of the 5-step launch process. Tell us a little bit about that and walk us through it.
Absolutely. So this 5-step launch process is all about swiftly and affordably pursuing an idea. Lots of people have big ideas. In my early work as a freelancer, I saw how costly mistakes can be when pursuing a bad idea or pursuing an idea in the wrong way. And so what I did is I created this 5-step system, which if followed, like a recipe, should enable anyone to validate and pursue their idea in an affordable manner without taking a massive amount of risk. I'm a pretty risk averse person, and my processes and my business reflects that. So the system is, as I say, 5 steps. We start with validation. Validation is a short period, which I'm sure many of your listeners know well. Product market fit, understanding how this product, how this idea resonates in the market. Steps 2 and steps 3 then occur between the validation period and the actual launch. And it's all about acquiring prospective customers and getting them excited, getting them ready to buy. Essentially, a key is resolving sales objections. If you're launching a new product, you're not going to know what those sales objections are until you actually start selling. So this pre-launch period is really about trying to understand as many of those objections as possible and getting them resolved in advance of the launch. Step 4 is once the launch occurs, you've built your prospective customer audience. Now you've got to convert them. So we're going to focus on converting them into customers. And step 5 in this system is scale. So most folks, when they're launching, will have a core launch period. And our goal with our clients is to scale as high as possible, as many units sold, as much revenue, whatever that goal is, as possible during that 5th step, scale during that pre-order period. So all said and done, that 5-step system can usually take around 4 or 5 months, and coming out the end of it, a client has early customers, early adopters, engaged communities around their product, and knock on wood, will be ready for a real ramp up on their e-commerce.
That's awesome. I love it. I love how simple it is. And I love, the step number 2 kind of around overcoming objections. And
Right.
yeah, like I totally agree with you. You can't overcome objections until you've actually tried to sell and,
Right,
and, and
exactly.
convert people to figure
Right.
that out. because everybody, like, I remember, I did many companies and came up with many dumb ideas. And I remember telling people, I'm like, hey, this is the idea. What do you think? They're like, we love it. And then you
Yeah,
get to,
yeah.
selling it and like no one buys it. I remember doing this one thing. It's when I did a lot of triathlons. And I just thought of like as gag gift, I was like this beer trainer. It was like a
Right.
helmet with a big little like a wire that hangs a beer out in front of you that you never can
Okay,
reach.
okay.
It was
Right,
the
right.
dumbest thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Anybody has
it's
one.
funny. It's funny that obviously it's impossible to predict. Otherwise, Apple and Google wouldn't launch products that fail. You can't predict it. However, there are a lot of things you can do to really understand uh, the potential of an idea well before you have to invest. And so, a lot of folks do come to me, like you might have with your idea, which was kind of unusual, and
No,
they've been
you could say
told
stupid.
they've been told by their family and friends, oh yeah, I'll definitely buy this. But there's a great book called The Mum Test. I can't remember the author, about you don't ask your family and friends if your idea is good. You've got to get it into the market and got to get that feedback. And sometimes you get told by the market your idea sucks, and that sucks. But in my opinion, it's better to find that out before you've invested thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in pursuing it.
Yeah, there was one situation where a company came to me that was starting out, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to we want to develop this book and this little elf that sits on the shelf." And
Okay.
I was like, "No, that's a dumb idea." And then every Christmas I've been doing it.
Yeah, alpha, exactly. The strangest things can unexpectedly take off. So it's an interesting business to be in, launches, because you see some product you think are slam dunks face some really big objections, and vice versa. So it's all about what the data is telling us,
Yeah,
and that's what the system focuses on.
exactly. Well, let's switch focus a little bit. How have you been able to build a lean team and keep scaling the agency?
Yeah, that was a particular goal of mine in the last couple of years. This year more so. I think most agency owners they'll grow, and the solution to growing is, okay, I need to hire more, bring in more team members. So we got to 8 or 9 end of last year, middle of last year, and I was spending more time in meetings and check-ins than I than I wanted to, frankly, and what I'm how I'm looking to live my life is a key uh, guide of the business. And so I didn't want to live my life in meetings with the team. And so I said, okay, no more hiring. What are we going to do this year to grow without hiring? And that, I think, a lot of the answers aren't surprising to people. We talk about kind of productizing your services and making everything as systematic as possible. We talk about avoiding scope creep by really understanding and allocating kind of time allowances or bandwidth allowances for each role in the business or each role in the system. We talk about having a great lead pipeline so you can pick and choose the higher value leads that come in. Uh, but as essentially, until I think you really set that goal, hiring is such an easy solution to increasing revenue. And so, and while you might know, the key ways to avoid that and to grow while staying lean, when you actually force yourself to enact it, you really start seeing the details and the specificities for your business rather than the generic kind of best practices of doing so.
Hit my mute button.
Yeah. Do you know? I listened to Seth Godin's the podcast he did with him a while back.
Mhm.
I listened to that recently before this show, and he said something that I felt really tied into our philosophy around that. And he said the goal should not be more; the goal should be better. And he was speaking about that with regards to the type of people you work with. I think the clients, but I think that applies to pretty much
It
everything.
does.
Whether it's the how many hours we're working a week or the value we're providing. It's not. necessarily always do more, do more, do more, but it's how can we do it better? And that's a good philosophy to work off of when scaling a lean agency.
Well, it's also doing it better and then doing it your way, right? I talk to so many agencies that they have goals of going, like a lot of agencies in our mastermind, they go, I want to go from 3 million to over 8 figures. I'm like, well, why? And,
Okay.
and a lot of them have issues with saying that. They just go, I don't know. It's just a number. It's a goal. Like, well, what if your goal was to do it better, to do it more
Yeah.
efficiently, where you actually can create more time for yourself, right? Like in the pre-show, we
Right.
were talking about how you work maybe 20 hours and then you spend a lot of work on your nonprofit. And it's about
Mm-hmm.
how can you create the right systems, have the right
Mm-hmm.
people, because you have to have people in
Mm-hmm.
this business in order to be able to pick and choose and do the things that you love. Like,
Yeah.
in this business, you have to figure out what is, like Dean Jackson says, like, you're the cow, all you do is produce the milk. So what is the milk? I don't need to produce the cheese. I don't need to sell the
Right.
cheese. That's
Right.
what other people can actually do.
Yeah. Absolutely. That same note I think applies to uh, being a generalist versus a specialist. A lot of agencies early on, myself included, try to do a lot of things and quickly realize you can't do that well. So focus on a couple of things that we do really well. And that is limiting when you have people come into you saying, Will, we need SEO help. We've got a lot of money to spend on SEO. I mean, a lot of money sounds good in the sense that it gives me safety net protection, but we don't do SEO. And we've got to stick with that if we want to be the best at the launch system we do have. And so yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and I look at it as kind of when you start out, you have to try everything, and you have to figure out what are you really good at. It's kind of like, you know, in sports, you got to try
Mm-hmm.
basketball and football and soccer and tennis, swimming, whatever it is. And then by the
Right.
time you get toward the end of your high school and you're wanting to go to college, well, you have your sport.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was with me. That's kind of how it's going with our kids. It's like try everything and then see
Yeah.
what you really like, what you're good at, what you don't like.
Yeah.
Do more of the good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And from an agency standpoint, I do remember early on one of the key things I was looking for is what marketing can or what service offering can quickly show results. Because especially early on, if you have no credibility and no case studies, you're gonna have a hard time with sales. So SEO is a long-term game. It might be a long time before we have that evidence. But paid ads, which are a big piece of our launch system, I can get results tomorrow, and I can have a case study tomorrow that shows that results. So that was a big piece of it. What can we do to build that foundation of credibility as quickly as possible? So that did direct our choice of services there.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, this has all been amazing. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the audience?
No, I guess the main thing I often like to leave people with is just to focus on the validation, and as kind of you point to, Jason, why. A lot of people come to me, and I'm sure a lot of folks are coming to your listeners with ideas, with things to pursue, uh, but understanding the why and validating that is the right thing to pursue saves a lot of heartache, money, and time in the end. And it's been a worthwhile focus for us. So it's always something I lean on others to consider.
Awesome. And what's the agency website people can go and check you out?
Sure, russellmarketing.co, russellmarketing.co.
Awesome. Well, everyone go check that out. Russell or Will, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on. And if you guys want to be surrounded by amazing agency owners that can really see the things that you're not able to see and be able to open your eyes to things you may not have heard of so you can grow and scale faster and really get to the point where you can pick and choose to do the things you love while your agency is scaling, which is really pretty cool. I'd love to invite all of you to go to thedigitalAgencyElite.com. It's our exclusive mastermind for really experienced agency owners that want to be transparent, share what's working. go there now and meet the other members there. There's a great video where you can check out the members. But go to digitalagencyelite.com, and until next time, have a swank day.